I've thought about this, how I first heard about Denise and Money Bootcamp. And I think I just saw her in my news feed over and over. And I just started following her then and saw her posts come up. And then I started listening to the podcast. And that listening to the podcast was just, it was almost like a little lifeline of someone just being able to read my thoughts and feelings. And I love the way that Money Bootcamp is mentioned in the podcast, but it's not really heavily kind of, you must join to see a real difference in your life. It's very much bootcamp's there, have a look if you're interested. So that was where it kind of started for me. So before I joined Money Bootcamp, I have always been such an accumulator and I worry about running out of money. And I think that's probably got a lot to do with the job I used to do before I was a florist, and being one of 5 children as well. That's definitely had a lot to do with it. And my business was really kind of in its infancy before I joined Money Bootcamp. So it was nice to have it implemented so early on my business journey, because I wouldn't have grown this much without it, without a doubt. So before I took my floristry full time, it was just a hobby for me while I worked in finance. And I worked in finance for about 8 years. And it was really high pressure, high targeted. Your performance was based on what you could earn the company, what you could earn the business, and you were literally only as good as how much money you could make for the company as a whole. So it was very tough and draining. And 10 years ago when I started, it was exciting, and I didn't have a mortgage, and and the industry was very, very different. But slowly over time it did sort of change, and I didn't recognize my job role. But I've always had creative hobbies to kind of balance out all that brain work, and I am a creative, which this has really helped me kind of step into that and own that, the fact that I am a creative, and that's what I've always been. And I think I fell into finance, and it took me 8 years to fall back out of it. And I don't miss it since I went full time during the pandemic, and I never think about my old job ever. So I don't think that there was anything specific or a specific moment that made me think, right, this is it, it's the right time to join. It had been on my radar for a couple of months, and obviously being a ruler accumulator, the outlay of it was really, what if I don't make that back? But obviously one of my biggest takeaway lessons is that there's always more money, and believing and trusting that there's always more money, and having the faith in my business that it will bring me more money. And I think it was just a bit of a now or never moment for me. And actually, after I joined, I didn't touch any of the modules for about 2 or 3 weeks, which in itself I recognized as a block. So I sat down and kind of went through that, and then I got started and I did the whole course without stopping, sort of thing. I ran through it all. So yeah, it really suited me doing it that way. I think for me, I had a worry that after I joined up, what was inside the group wouldn't sort of meet my expectations. And from listening to the podcasts and from other people's testimonials, I knew I had a pretty good idea that it was going to help take me to the next level based on some of the other work I'd done from following Denise, and some of the kind of like free exercises and workbooks and things. So I thought, if it's just more of that, then I know I'm going to find it really, really beneficial. So now that I've been in bootcamp about 7 months, my mindset is so strong when it comes to money, and that obviously has a knock-on effect on my business. I've become really good, thanks to bootcamp, at recognizing when I am going to have sort of a tough time on the horizon mindset wise, and I can feel myself slipping into scarcity. But now I've got the tools to know how to get myself out of it. And the difference business wise is that My business makes more money. There's no two ways about that. But I've made investments in classic cars. I've invested in other people's businesses. And it's been the difference in me thinking every month that my business success was a fluke to knowing that this is consistency and this is growth and this is what consistency and growth feel like and what they should feel like. So it's been a real game changer for me. If I could give my past self some advice on business success and having a good month every month, I think I had a lot of kind of unlearning to do from my old job. Bootcamp made me realize that I've carried a lot of scars forward from my old job. And one of them was if you had a bad month, you could potentially lose your job. Whereas if I have a bad month, I'm the boss. So I decide what happens. And I've decided nothing bad happens if I don't hit my target or if I don't hit a goal that I set out for myself. So I then sit down and analyze what could I have done different, what could I have done wrong. But I know sometimes it's just down to stuff happens and there's nothing I could have done to control it. So I'd love to sort of tell my old self to join bootcamp sooner. Because it's like, as soon as you join, it's like help is on the way. That's what it feels like when you join. I think my top 3 wins since joining bootcamp are having my best financial year, even though my business has only been full time for not even 2 years. I can see the figures growing month on month, which is amazing. The other is taking on freelancers, so helping other people to have a creative outlet and they get paid well for it as well. And I think the other win is us being able to buy a classic car to it's a camper to go round and have adventures in and have loads of fun. And the me before bootcamp would have absolutely never have spent that money on something so substantial. I would have been very much, I don't need it, we can live without it sort of thing. So yeah, they're my top 3 wins, I'd say. So Denise, as a teacher, is her approach, I click with and resonate with so many things that she says. I think she's so good at putting things in a way that you can understand. It's pared down, it's very simple. I love her attitude of, look, you don't have to get it absolutely perfect. There are no prizes for doing the tapping exactly right, or doing the modules in the right order, or going through bootcamp religiously time after time. She's very much pick it up when you need to and put it down when you don't, which is just an attitude I love, the laid back kind of attitude. And she's so good at translating things for everyone to understand, no matter, your level of education, or no matter your background or what you do as a job, or even if you're employed or self-employed. It's like everyone's on kind of that level playing field with her, and the way that she translates everything for you to implement as well, because it needs to be easy to implement. And I think she's just got that so spot on. If anyone feels like they're too busy to go through boot camp, the first thing I'd say is we're all busy. We're all different types of busy as well, but you can take it completely at your own pace. And I didn't start 3 weeks after I joined because I was on the surface too busy, but underneath it was really a block that I had. So that might be worth exploring. But also, I'm a really great believer in, if you expect something to improve, you do need to put some skin in the game, and you do need to make that commitment, because it's a commitment to yourself at the end of the day. And it's a bit like, Olympic athletes judge themselves on the effort they put in and not the result they get out. So if you really judge yourself on the effort you put in and you're honest with yourself, I think everyone can find a tiny bit of time somewhere. And it's not like the modules don't take kind of hours and hours, even if you make that first step and get started, or pick which one, sort of speaks to you, then you don't really need a lot of time. And if you can't find time now, then spare time, I think people forget, it doesn't just appear from nowhere. You have to set it aside. You don't just get an extra hour in the day that comes from nowhere for you to kind of go to the gym or go for a walk or spend time with your kids. You make that time. And I think this is the same. Oh my gosh, the Facebook group is so fantastic. Even just to have it there kind of running in the background every time you open Facebook and then you see the posts and you read through them. Some of them will resonate with you more than others, but it is such a friendly community. It's so supportive. And when I first joined and I saw the size of the group, I thought, oh my gosh, I bet this is a feeding frenzy with a post a minute and nobody really knows what's going on. Like some Facebook groups that are that sort of size. But this one, I've never been in a more positive space where the community is just, there's just not 1 ounce of negativity or nastiness or spite or um, everybody is that type of person where they're friendly and supportive and they I scroll past if I think I've got nothing to add to what that person is having trouble with because the other members have answered it. And the moderators as well, what's lovely is for a group that's so big, I know that they remember and recognize the members and previous problems they've had or issues they've had with money mindset. So you do feel like you're in a really small group. It feels like a really small community, but it's actually not. It's a really big community with members all over the world, which is lovely too. My favorite lessons, oh gosh, some of them I found much tougher than others. And there are some you really have to dig deep and be honest with yourself, even things like the first class life and what in my life could I upgrade. Even that is very it was quite tough for me because it does bring up a lot of stuff. Can I upgrade? Well, I'd love a bigger house, but will I ever get there? And I'd probably say that was one of the toughest ones for me because it made me think about my future and what I want and how am I going to get there and will I ever get there? And this is when I first started boot camp because it's one of the kind of opening modules. So to go through that one, I found quite tough. But it does then lead you to make amazing upgrades, even if they're seemingly quite small, like getting new bath towels was one of mine because none of ours matched. And I just thought, why has this never bothered me? That our towels are all hand-me-downs from our parents and we're in our 30s and we've had our own house for the best part of 10 years, but we're using towels that we were given when we moved away from home. So that was the first thing to go and we upgraded. And it's like little and often with the upgrades, but that was kind of a sticky one for me because it does force you to think a little bit, or it forced me to think a little bit about the future and what we'd like to change and not change. I honestly think working on your money mindset is so essential to success, especially if you are self-employed, because you don't often have that kind of HR background support that you maybe might get or need from a job role. And it's almost like you're trying to run a really massive machine, but the cogs inside, you're not checking them over, you're not seeing if they're rusting or wearing away, you're literally not looking inside the engine, you're just hoping this machine will go and go forever. And working on your money mindset is the equivalent of having somebody look inside that machine and make upgrades, make repairs and make tweaks so that it will keep going from strength to strength. It's absolutely essential to success. I was on the fence about joining Money Bootcamp for a while and it was a good few months. And I'm a ruler accumulator, but I'm also closely followed by Maverick. So I think in those moments, my Maverick, I just let it take over. So if you've got something like that and you've done the Sacred Money Archetypes, let your Maverick take over. Because after I joined, I was even like, universe, I need a sign that I've done the right thing. And then I had my best financial month ever. So, and that was before I'd really started a lot of the bootcamp course. So if you're on the fence, it's only you who can push that button, but will you ever feel truly, truly ready? And what I remind myself of quite a lot is that all the successful people in the world push themselves to do things before they feel 100% ready. There's a really specific money mind block to the floristry world, which is that if you're a florist, you cannot earn a great deal of money. The ceiling is set pretty low. You won't it's a really limiting belief, which I recognised it to be not long after I joined Money Bootcamp, that florists, full stop, whether you're shop based or not, or whatever you specialise in, you're just not going to make great deals of money, which I tell this to other florists because I run a club for people who are new florists or want to be florists. I earn more now than I did when I worked in finance, and I work less hours than ever before. So what's next for me in 2023 is to keep growing the wedding side of my business and take on couples who have got bigger spends, because I've come away from doing smaller weddings, and I would really, really love to get into really substantial sized weddings. At the moment, I do quite chunky sized weddings, but I want to be at the point where I need 3 or 4 people to help me on a wedding. And that would be lovely to support other people too. And I'd love to grow the side of my business, which is a bit more like mentorship, where I teach other people how to become florists and dispel that myth that you have to go to college to learn how to be a florist, and support them in their journey as well in doing what they really want to do with their lives. So I'd love to focus much more on that next year. And I've also got a book that I've started and that I need to finish next year, because I have been told that it's going to lead on to other things. So that's my kind of goal and aim for 2023. So it's a bit like the podcast as brilliant. It's brilliant, and it gives you a different perspective, definitely, to being inside bootcamp. But it's kind of like the warm up. Listening to the podcast is like a warm up, and being inside bootcamp is kind of like when you really join the party and it gets exciting, and you see so much growth within yourself because of the exercises. And the podcast, when I heard Denise mention tapping, for example, and I thought, I need to know what this is, because it sounds like something I'd like and it sounds like something I'd need. And so when she first takes you through the tapping technique, I felt it working like immediately. And not a day goes by now where I don't tap about something. And it's just been such a useful tool. There are loads of other tools and support that you get from joining Money Bootcamp, which listening to the podcast is very much like you're just listening to the conversation, but then when you join bootcamp, it's like you join the conversation and it becomes two-way. And I've posted about so many things in the group that I need help and support with. My most recent was my partner, my husband, who I'm a bit like, he has taken on a lot of Money Bootcamp just from me, saying things like there's always more money and this, that, the other, and that happens quite naturally. And I'm lucky that he's very much, I'm on board with whatever I sort of suggest and that kind of thing. But getting a different point of view from a totally safe space is one of the real big benefits of bootcamp as well, being inside bootcamp compared to listening to the podcasts. I would just love to say that I absolutely love the way that you do everything, and you've made me realise it's okay to be a little bit not 100% polished or not. It's okay to wing things sometimes and it can still turn out really well. And I just love that I'm more comfortable than ever to just be myself in my business, because I've seen someone else do it first. And I'm like, oh, it's okay for us to say what we want, and it's okay for us not to script things before we go live, and just all of that. So I'll be going to the event in March in London, so I'm really excited for that, and I absolutely cannot wait. I booked it without hesitation, and for an accumulator ruler, anyone who knows the money archetypes will know that that's pretty unusual. But that's the impact that she's had, that I've become a lot faster at recognizing if something will be good for me or my business and just investing in it without hesitation.
If you're looking for expert training on money mindset, a supportive community, and mentoring to work on your money stories, I invite you to come work with us in Money Bootcamp. Our community is growing every day, and when empowered people come together and take control of our financial destiny, we really can change lives. Come and join us on this journey. Just click below, take a deep breath, and enroll in Money Bootcamp today. You'll get our amazing money mindset training, ongoing mentoring, and access to our beautiful, inspiring community. So then you can have the encouragement and accountability to make a breakthrough with your money. And you'll get support from all of our experienced mentors and live group coaching calls with me every single month. We will be with you every step of the way to help you create more abundance with less stress. So click below, take a deep breath, and just hit join on your registration. Make this investment in your dreams and get started now so you can release your money blocks, increase your income, and surround yourself with amazing people invested in your success. I'll see you in Money Bootcamp. It's your time and you're ready for the next step.